Hi there! In this video, we're going to be talking about graphing rules, otherwise known as functions, or functions can also be known as rules, using input-output tables on a coordinate plane. We're just going to be using positive numbers, no negative numbers in this at all. Let's go ahead and get started. I have an example of a coordinate grid here. It's just the positive numbers, and as just a reminder, the x-axis goes sideways, horizontal, left to right, and our y-axis is on the side here. It goes up and down, it's vertical. So when I talk about graphing a rule, I'm talking about graphing something that looks like this. Y is equal to, let's just pick one for example, 2 times x. And what we're going to be doing is sticking in numbers for x and getting out a certain number y and then ending up plotting them on this coordinate grid over here. All right, so how to do that is the first thing we have to do is set up an input-output table, and this is the easiest way to keep track of your work. So what you do for that is just draw a t-chart, and you can draw it like that or you can draw it sideways like this too, but I prefer to do it the vertical way. It's just a little bit easier for me. And how functions work is there's a certain number that goes in for x, and this is the input, and it comes out as y, and that's the output. The x is kind of bossy and it tells the y what to do. So we're going to call the x over here, this is our input. It's the number we're going to put in, and the y value is what we're going to get out as our output. So let's go ahead and grab some numbers. When I'm graphing for positive numbers, I'm just going to start with the number 0 as long as there's no subtraction involved, because then it gets kind of weird, and you'll see an example of that later. So for a problem like this, I'm just going to start at the number 0 for x, and I'm going to grab a couple other numbers right after it. So let's do 0, 1, 2. You could have done 0, 4, 7, 11, whatever you want. I just like to usually start at 0 with situations like this, especially where I'm multiplying. As you can see, we're going to be multiplying down below because they're just easier to work with. So let's go ahead and stick some numbers in and see what happens. So I don't know what my y value is equal to yet, but I'm just going to start writing out my equation. Y is equal to 2. And when we have a number and a variable next to each other, like we do right here, we have the 2 and the x next to each other, all that means is we're going to be multiplying. I'm going to look at my first x value, which is the 0 over here, and I'm just going to write my 0 in for my x. So I just subbed in my 0 for where my x is. And now all I have to do is just do my multiplication. So I know that 2 times 0 is equal to 0. So when I put in the number 0 for x, what comes out is a 0 for y. Let's try another one. I'm going to start with y. Notice I'm just rewriting it because I don't know what y is yet, and I'm sticking in the x value. 2. And my next value that I'm going to be looking at is 1 right here. So I'm going to multiply that times 1. And here I get 2 times 1 is equal to 2. So when I stick in I should be coloring these blue, I'm sorry. So when I stick in a value of 1 for x, I'm getting out a value of 2. Let's try the last one here. So once again, I am sticking in my x value right in here. So 2 times a value of 2 is going to give me 4. So I have my inputs and now I have my outputs. And all I'm going to do is be graphing these on our coordinate grid over here. So taking these values and graphing them over here. And if you remember from what coordinate grid coordinates look like, all they look like is it's the x value. I'll change my color for you here. It's the x value followed by the y value. So if I fill those in, now all we have to do is graph it. So there's, I should choose a different color. There we go. So there's 0, 0. There's 1, 2. And there's 2, 4. And then if I draw a straight line, I have just graphed the rule y is equal to 2 times x.